Okay. Okay, it's Hoffman's video. I knew it was going to be long. I knew it was going to take some time. I knew it would be an hour long. Welcome, Thursday Gear Talk, 5 o'clock. I knew it would be a long discussion. I knew that. I don't know what the timestamp is as of right now, but it's going to be over an hour. I might even hit 2 hours. This character. Let me tell you something. Yes, the Hivebuster initiative is led by Hoffman. That is why we're talking about him. But understand, this man has such a long history. If I don't talk about that, I can't get to the Hivebuster stuff. And this man is huge in the books. He is huge in the games. He is huge in every form of media, except the comics. Comics, he plays a little bit less of a role. This man is everywhere. I cannot fathom to tell you how much it is going to take to talk about everything. So for the sake of this video, I am going to be I'm going to go over everything, but very lightly. I'm not going to go into detail. I'm not going to look up names. I'm not going to go into in-depth discussions about other characters. No, this is Hoffman. If he is not there or plays a minor role in something, we ain't talking about it. I'm sorry. This is the biggest video I might even have on the channel. So we're going to talk about Hoffman. Colonel Hoffman, the big man himself. One of the old guard. He was around during the Pendulum Wars. He was around for the Locust War. He was around for the Lambent. He was around for the Stranded Insurgency. He was around for the Swarm War. This man has been everywhere. And I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to talk about everything, like I said. And I've got notes that go on for a while. So let's strap in and get it going, ladies and gents. Get some popcorn, get some candy, beverages. Put this in the background while you're doing laundry. I don't care. We're going to be talking for quite a while. Let's talk about Hoffman. Why are we talking about him? Well, because he's a part of the Hivebuster initiative. But that is only a small part of the story. When it comes to Hoffman, we have a lot to discuss. And this character, honestly, Hoffman is one of the best written characters. By the book-wise, Karen Travis did amazing, and it culminates so well in 3. But you need to understand that with Hoffman comes a lot to talk about, like I've said many times now, within 3 minutes of this video. But Hoffman, he's like the grizzled old vet. He's the sergeant chomping a cig, just, yeah, they're my soldiers. It's funny because you never see him chomping a cigar, I don't think. And he's actually a colonel, not a sergeant. He is, at the time of the Locust War and after, he is the highest ranked military official. That's how bad the situation is that the COG has. Aside from Prescott, who's leading, and we'll get into that story later on with those two, he is by far the leader of everything. And like I said, I've got notes here. There's so much. I'm going to have to look down now and then. His past is very heavy, and the best place we can start, because I was debating whether to bring it up later on or not, I figured chronological is better just to kind of not only get it out of the way, but with how it goes chronologically, or at least when everything was distributed, not chronologically, the third book is Anvil Gate. It is very heavily based on him, so I figured we could touch on that now and just kind of jump to the points that are not Anvil Gate in Anvil Gate. So starting off, we'll talk about his past, how he joined the military, got into everything, how he became who he is today. And starting that off, we have his early career, where he first joined the COG, and he really was a grunt soldier. That's what he wanted to be. He wanted to work on the front lines as a grunt, just rushing in there, guns blazing. That's who he wanted to be, just a grunt. He never wanted the high life. I feel like at one point in his mind he did, because he wanted a higher status, but Hoffman was not the guy who aspired for that. He never tried for it. He wanted to be on the ground with his gears, brothers in arms. That's what he always wanted to have. Now, while he was doing that, he actually did at one point get the offer to go into the officer classes, go into the officer ranks, or at least go towards that. And he was one of the very last people to get in for his candidacy for getting in at the time. He got a late offer, and he actually chose to take it. He decided to go up and become a leader. And during this time also, this was when he met his wife, and before he met his wife, this is when he met Bernie as a grunt, and they had a connection, but it came to the point where he went higher in the ranks, they didn't see each other that often, and it didn't become anything. So that's when he met his wife, and he was an officer, and it kind of goes from there. We don't get a lot between that and when he gets put into Anvil Gate, but we get Anvil Gate coming up next, and that's when the character-marking moment of Hoffman's career comes into play. Anvil Gate is kind of important here, because it also comes up later in the series. Anvil Gate for Hoffman it's pretty much like his nightmare. Because when he was stationed at Anvil Gate, he was told, you're stationed here, there's not much really going on here, it's just close to the borders, and there's powerful cannons here that are able to take out anything crossing near us, that you're pretty much here under the command of, I believe it was, I did get a few names written down. The one name I do have is Captain Sander. You're going to be under Captain Sander. You're like his second in command. And also, while he was at Anvil Gate, this is where he met Patrick Sultan, who was one of the greatest snipers who ever lived in all of the COG, possibly even beating Bernie. That's how good this guy was. Sam Byrne, or Byrne, I believe, is the last name. I might have it wrong right now, but Samantha's father, that's where he met her. That's where he met him. I was going to say her, but she doesn't come up for a while. She ain't even born yet. But this is where he meets them, and he loves his crew, he loves his squad, and it's a great time. Then Sander dies from, I believe it was a rocket launcher through the window, flew right past Hoffman, hit Sander, and turned him into a bloody just mess on the wall, if I remember correctly from the book. And Sander is straight up dead. Sander is not coming back. And everyone's in shock. Like, literally, Hoffman's right there like, So he's put in charge of Anvil Gate, and he's kind of like, I don't really know what to do. This is really out of my jurisdiction and terrain. And Anvil Gate, it's not just a fort. Like, there are civilians living there. It's a straight-up town. Like, Anvil Gate is like a town. Like, just a giant fortress with a town inside. And he's in charge of all of it. And he's like, not sure what to do in this situation. And it gets worse because the UIR are trying to cross the border, and they're coming their way towards the gate, Anvil Gate. And this is when they start bombarding, or like sneak attacks, or screwing up deliveries or caches that are being dropped. And pretty much they're starving out Anvil Gate because they're trying to take the fort. And Anvil Gate is known for never once being broken into or destroyed, or the people that are in Anvil Gate at the time, because many people have used Anvil Gate. It's stayed like no one's ever gotten in. It's impenetrable. So the UIR are kind of like, well, if we can't get in, we're just going to starve them out. That's what we're going to do. And there's civilians, they're wounded, so they're thinking, we hate the COG, but even the COG aren't going to let everyone just die in there. Like, even their own soldiers, they're not just going to die. They won't do it. And honestly, the leader of the UIR at this time, I don't have his name, but the one leading this group is actually a pretty chill dude. He's a smart man. He's a by-the-book man like Hoffman. This is a game of chess with Hoffman and him. And Hoffman decides, well, I'm going to pull out the good old bishop, and I can never get the name right, but the Pensangas, I believe the people that come from the Pensang area, I believe, and it's not Pensang. I might call it that just for pronunciation's sake for myself. He calls them in because the COG has a connection. They're not allied, but they can get troops from there. Well, no, they are like country-wise. They're like acquaintances. They're like, oh yeah, we talk to them now and then. Hey, bring some troops over. Yeah, come on, let's do it. So he calls in some of them, and he knows for a fact these people are great at guerrilla warfare, stealth, they know everything. So he calls them in, and this is also when he meets Bytack. Bytack becomes one of his best friends of all time. And Bytack will be coming up a little while more, and then things happen, we'll get to it, and then we get more from his family later on also. So he calls them in, and they're secretly going out in the middle of the night, and they're taking out UIR that are camped around the cliffside. Because Anvil Gate is based near a cliff. So this thing is like, it only has one way in. And that's kind of like, and they blow out that one way, so literally they're being starved out. So the Pensangs are going around, and they're taking out UIR all around the cliffside. That's just watching with snipers. And Hoffman's like, okay, well, the only thing we can worry about now is starving out or no water or anything like that. Everything else is taken care of. 3 months go by, and they get to the point where Hoffman's looking around at everyone, and he realizes we can't keep doing this. They win. They did it. They beat us. And then Hoffman does something he fully regrets for the rest of his life. And I believe this is also against like the code of conduct for war in our world. He waves the white flag, but only as a trap. Like, he's like, oh, we surrender. Not really. So they surrender. Everyone comes in. And this is like, they come into the town portion, which is made of wood. So they all come on in. The leader of that group of the UIR come in. There's 200 soldiers that come with. And he says, like, hey. He kind of says, like, hey, no hard feelings. Military's military. We accept your surrender. Civilians can, they're getting evacuated. They're fine. Everyone's going to be treated okay. We win. Like, that's how it goes. So Hoffman still goes through with the trap. And he's not a big fan of it, but he does it. So what the trap is that the wooden part of town they're in, they're going to block off everything and light it up and create an oven where everyone's just going to burn and die while other soldiers are just shooting them down. And they go through with that. And while everything's going on, explosions are happening. Hoffman and the other UIR leader get knocked to the ground, and Hoffman takes the moment to take his gun and shoot him twice in the head. Hoffman straight up kills this man who was completely kind to him and was also like, war's war, bygones are bygones, like, you lost, whatever, like, you know, we'll take the fort. He killed him. And then they go through and they kill, like, everyone's getting shot down and destroyed. And actually Sam Byrne, I know I'm getting the name wrong, but I'm just going to go with that for now. He gets killed in all of this. Now, his wife already left, and she's already pregnant with Samantha. But he's been killed, and later on it comes up again where we come back to Anvil Gate way later in the future, like 30 to 40 years. And we go over this situation again where Hoffman looks over everything. Now, we'll get to that when we get to it, because that plays a major role later on. Now, this is Anvil Gate. And honestly, they promoted Hoffman after that. They said, good job, you did great. Hoffman carries this the rest of his life because he's a by-the-books man. He hated doing this, but he also understood, I'm here to win. I'm here for my men. I have to do whatever I can. And by God, he did whatever he could. They take him off of there, and a while later, he is stationed over at, and I have the name here, Camp Delacroix. Now, at Camp Delacroix, that is found over at the Sarfuth Marinday area, like the country. Now, they're there under a recon mission because later on he does become the head of like the stealth department or like the commandos. So this is kind of like his first taste of all of that. He gets stationed there, and this is where he first becomes bald over at Anvil Gate. Like, he fully shaves his head, and Camp Delacroix, it states he continues to do it. He stays bald no matter what. Like, he prefers being bald. While there, he is stationed with Bytack and his squadron, the same people from Anvil Gate. And he's like, I'm going to say it wrong again, but I'm just going to say it, Pensang, the Pasanga, I think they're called. He is stationed with them again, and this is when Bytack presents something to him, and it is a machete. He says, like, listen, Hoffman-sa, because they're very heavily accented. Hoffman-sa, like, this is a sign of my people that have come into manhood. Like, we honor you with this. We consider you one of us. Because Hoffman has done nothing but treat them all with respect. He loves them. He treats them like his normal gears. And he says, like, you have shown us a kindness that many others do not. And you have given us this opportunity. We present this. And he said, like, I accept it greatly. And he's kind of like, yeah, most of our children get these when they hit adulthood. So, like, there you go. So he's like, I honor you, Bytack. Thank you. I very much appreciate this. He gets word also during that mission, there's a radio comms tower that needs to be taken out in an opposing nation. Now, this is run by UIR, and they said to do this, we need a lot of tactical decisions and what to do. It's going to take us time to get in there and destroy it. And honestly, Hoffman says, like, screw that. I'm going to go in with these guys, the Pasangas, we'll call them that for now. I'm going to go in with them, and we can get this done in 2 days. We'll stealthily get in, blow it up, and run back, and we're good. And they say, no, we're not doing that. It's too much of a risk. We're not just going to throw people in there and not know what's going on. We need at least comms and a decision and idea of how we're going to do this. And Hoffman says, screw it, I'm doing it anyway. And he goes and does it. Like, that's the funniest thing. He just does it. He says, you guys coming? Yeah, we're coming. 26 yeah, you coming? Yeah, we're coming. So they go and do it. And they do it really well getting in. Like, they go in, it's very stealthful. They show them the paperwork to the guards, and they are able to play it off like they're either... Because I believe it's a neutral nation, but the UIR has invaded it. Like, they're playing it off very well, like, oh, you know, we're just civilians, we're just going in, here's our paperwork. And they sneak on in, get to the radio tower in 2 days, like they said. They get in there, and they blow that mother humper up like it's no one's business. They blow that thing up, and they make a run for it. After they blow the thing, it is a mad dash to get back, because they're just like, they know. They're going to know we just blew it up. It's very apparent we did it. So they're running, and they're just like, we didn't want to do this, but, kill the guards. They're just killing the guards while they're making a run for it. And this entire time they're running, they're trying to be stealthy, like take back roads, go like uncharted paths, hiding from like ravens that are in the air. Well, I don't know if the UIR called them ravens, but like they're doing all that. And they finally get back, and they're like, mission accomplished, we did it. And they are pissed beyond belief at Hoffman. Like, why would you do this? Like, there's so many things were in place, and you just ruined it. He's like, I took care of the mission. We could have done this. We did it. It's taken care of. So, surprisingly, he doesn't get reprimanded heavily for it. They were just kind of like, that's Hoffman for you. He did it, I guess. But, geez, don't do that again. I find it just funny because it's like, he did this. And it's like, well, he did it. I guess, congratulations all around. Yippee skippy. Oh, God. I love it. And then, that's when he kind of gets promoted into, like, the head of, like, the stealth division or, like, the commandos. And that's when we run into Operation Leveler during Asvio Fields, another huge moment in Hoffman's life. Now, during Operation Leveler, things are very tactical again, how Hoffman kind of likes it at this point. Hoffman is sitting there and he learns about Operation Leveler. He's given information about it because he's the head of stealth, and they're like, this mission is going to be falling under you to go in, get the Hammer of Dawn information that we need, because the UIR are the ones who originally made it. And we need you to take that information and bring it back. But we also need you to take the key scientists that are stated here in this dossier who needs to come back. We need them because they know how to build it. All the other scientists, kill them. They are going to know we're there. You are going to see them all. Kill them. Hoffman says, sure, that's the mission. We got to do it. So he goes out, and at this time, Dom is a commando. So he's out there with Dom. Dom is a rookie. And we see this in Gears 4, but I will tell you right now, Gears 4 flubbed it so badly with Asvio Fields. It was fun, but they got a lot of things wrong. And here's the thing. 4 treated it as like an assault into the place, just take them all out and get out with the info. No, it was a very stealthy operation. They went in, not a lot of blood was on their hands in the beginning. They went in very quietly, very stealthy. Bytack and his boys were with. Like, it was a very, we're going in, getting this done, and leaving mission. That's how it began. So they get in, and they find the scientists, and they find what they need, they get the information, and they pick out the ones they need, but they realize that information is being spread over somewhere. They don't know how. Until they figure out that there was a scientist hiding up that was kind of signaling with like a flashlight. When they took care of that problem, they kind of got the rest of them all together. I don't remember if they killed that scientist or not. I'm pretty certain at that point they would have. They got all the scientists together that were supposed to get killed, and it came down to Hoffman. We got to kill him, Hoffman. That's the order. And Dom is even like, this is really like, they're not doing anything wrong. Even if they tell them, we already have the information. Like, we have the people that can make it. And Hoffman says, we have to kill them. It's orders. We have to. We've been told to. We have what we need. And when it comes down to it, the very last second, the 11th hour, we are in the final inning of it all. You hit this home run, we win. You do not, we lose. Hoffman makes the decision, run. Get out of here. Go. Leave. Like, I don't care what you do at this point, just get out of here, or we will kill you. So Hoffman has a heart. That's the thing that's really emphasized a lot throughout the entire story of Hoffman. He has a heart. He cares, but he has to put his professionalism first. He is a soldier. He puts that above all else. So he makes the decision, very final hour when his soldierism is still there, but his kindness shines through for one brief moment, go. Just leave. Out of my sight. We will kill you if you do not leave. So they leave, and they take the main scientist. So they get inside these 2 rafts that they were trained to rush in and swoop into a Raven to get them out of there. There's 2 of them. Both have the gears on each side. I believe Hoffman and Dom are here, and some of the By's boys are over here. So they're going in. And at this point, that scientist that was signaling, there's also the Battle of Asvio Fields going on. That is a talk for another situation, but this is Hoffman's video. Not Marcus, not what's Anya's mother's name now? I forgot it. Not the badass Major Stroud. I forget her name, unfortunately, at this moment. Ty's over there. That's a situation for them when we get to them. We're talking about the stealth operation for Leveler. So they're going in, and the 2 birds are coming by, and they shoot down one of the rafts. And again, everyone's geared up. So it's like, oh crap, we're sinking. This is really bad. So they shoot one down, and Dom comes to the conclusion, someone's got to go save them. They're going to drown if we don't go in. So Dom jumps in, and he starts pulling people out as much as he can, just getting them onto the other raft. And this thing is loaded at this point, by the way. All the while, they shoot down one of the birds, and I believe it was said, because I checked the wiki for some things too. I didn't do 100% knowledge, but I did look at the wiki for some. It said the other bird was shot down from Marcus while he was inside one of the tanks on the other side of the islet, the area. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, good on Marcus. That's cool. So they're pulling everyone in, but they can't find Bai anywhere. And that's the problem. Like, Hoffman is like, where is he? What's going on? Where is he? And they're just pulling people in. And at this point, like, Bai is in actual armor. Throughout all of these events, he's worn, like, very light armor for everything, but I think they actually put armor on him for this. So he sank. He died. He drowned to death. And Hoffman's trying to find him. Dom's looking. They can't. But it also comes to the point where they're like, we have to go or we're going to die. So they fly that sucker into that raven and they fly off. And, I mean, they got the scientists and the blueprints, but that's the end of Bai's story. At least for the moment. When everything is said and done, the mission is over, everyone is home. Dom learns about Carlos's death. That's something that Hoffman's like, oh my goodness, that sucks for you, Dom. They get back and they are all pretty much awarded Embry Stars. Now, the Embry Star is the highest honor you can be awarded in the Coalition. Nothing is higher than this, this medal. You get this, you have gone above and beyond. And there are 5 people who receive it that day. You have Anya's mother, who, why am I not forgetting, the most badass woman in the entire story that could go toe-to-toe with any person, even taking out Alex Brand if she wanted. Why can I not... Helena Stroud. Helena gets one. Then you have Dom Santiago receives one. Marcus Phoenix receiving one. You have Colonel Hoffman receiving one. And I believe the final star went to Carlos Santiago for his death that happened self-sacrificing himself. Which it really didn't amount to nothing, but they gave him a star, I believe. So those 5 get stars. Only those 5. The Bai and his boys, the Pasangas, if I said it right, they get nothing. Because they are not technically a part of the COG. They cannot receive honors. They cannot receive anything. They do receive money for their work. But Bai is dead. He doesn't receive anything else. He is gone. He is unalive. Nothing is given to them. Bai or his boys. Nothing. This ticks Marcus. I'm sure it made him angry too. This ticks Hoffman off beyond any level of angry he has been with the military. This is where the first crack begins in his view of the government of the COG. The first crack is right here. And this is where he goes up to the chairman at the time, Darnell or Dariel. Like I said, I didn't go through the names that well for this one. He goes up to him and says, I believe he says, just shove your medal up your ass. Like, they deserved it. You didn't give it to them. I don't care if they're alive or not. Screw you. I'm out of here. And Hoffman leaves. And that is the final promotion he ever received was up to Colonel. He never got anything more because of that public embarrassment he gave to the chairman at the time. Now, he took that star, he mailed it off to Bai's wife, along with a good amount of money, and said, I am sorry, he should have received more, I will do whatever I can to help support you. So he sends everything he can, so that he can at least support his friend who fought with him. They were both from different parts of the world, but they were brothers in arms, and he did everything he could for that family. One of the most noble things Hoffman has ever done, and it pays off in strides later on, I tell you what. Going from this, the Pendulum Wars end. We now have 6 weeks of peace. Everything is nice. Hoffman is like, okay, war's over. And then holes in the ground come up. Millions to billions of locusts come up, gun down a quarter of the population and say, nah, we're taking over. That's pretty much what happens. And no one knows what's going on. Hoffman is there. Like, during all of this, he's there for Emergence Day. We see this in 4 also. And during all of this, he's helping lead a caravan of civilians to get out of there. And him and Kim have to go in and, I forget what they had to do, but they had to go do something. Kim had the codes, though, so we're okay. They go in, and during all of this, they are fighting off the locusts. They have no clue what's going on. We still have Retro Lancers at this point in the story. And they're fighting, and they're just like, I don't know what these things are, but this is very bad. We need to fight and live. And this is where Hoffman begins with the Locust, and this is where things also happen where he starts to become the only one left that has any authority with a high rank, because of the fact that everyone else is being killed. Rom has the plan of killing their leadership, and it just so happens Hoffman's such a badass, they never either got to him or he was able to fight off all of his attacks. So Hoffman is still alive. Like, you get to the point where the Hammer of Dawn is set off, which is the next part in my notes here, And he's the only one that can step in and be like, well, I can turn a key. I'm one of the only higher-ups left around. So he does, and he activates the hammer. And he torches the planet along with Prescott. And I don't remember who the third member was. I think it was like the leader of like the economy or something. I don't really remember. Or like the law, something like that. We don't talk about him much. I'm sure when I do the book character discussion series, I will bring him up. But he's doing his own thing. So, scorches the earth, scorches his wife. His wife also dies in all of this. It ends up to the point where he's sitting there like, I am one of the people who have just destroyed the entire planet. And Adam was ready to take like the key from him and say, I'll do it. But he chose not to. Adam said like, you already have to worry about your wife. You don't need the burden of like destroying the planet. This is my weapon. I will do it. It wasn't really Adam's, but Adam was the one who finished it. And Hoffman says, no, it's my job. I'm going to do it. Because that's who I am. I'm Colonel Goddamn Hoffman. So he does it, and he carries that burden. For the rest of his life, he now has to carry that. He is one of the people responsible for torching the planet. That's on his shoulders. He did that. And he carries it like a champ, I tell you what. Like, everyone in that moment was feeling pretty bad. Even Prescott. He said, God forgive, I'm sorry for what I'm about to do. He really didn't want to do it. He decided to do it, but he didn't want to. And they did it. And they torched that planet. Sad day all around. Next up, we now have the Battle of Aphira we bring up. Now, the Battle of Aphira is important because after the hammer strikes were done, and they were done looking through to find survivors, it was a little bit more of an even fight with the Locusts. It was still, like, the Locusts were here, humanity was here, like, Locusts were now, like, Humanity was still down, but it's like, it's closer now. So they are starting to fight, and they are trying to fight off the Locusts from getting closer. Because the Locusts are slowly impeding into territory and crossing bridges and everything. So they're trying to take out bridges, take out the enemy. And this is where Hoffman and Marcus have the big old, like, fight to end all fights. Which is only one punch long, but it's still a fight to end all fights. During this, Adam is actually working with the Locusts somewhat. He's trying to talk to them to be peaceful, to end the war. I will figure out a cure for things, just stop all this, or at least make sure Marcus lives, at a minimum. So during all of this, like, the government learns, Prescott knows, and they are actually going over to, like, he's getting attacked by the Locusts. The Locusts were coming to take him, but Marcus came by, and it turned into a battle. He got knocked out, taken over by the Cog, and put on Azura. But before all of that, Marcus was fighting and helping with Hoffman. Now, the Hammer of Dawn was just turned into a portable weapon at this point. And Hoffman is like, okay, we need to use this. We need to take out the bridge, take out the Locusts, and save the guys that are over there getting killed. Because our boys will die if we don't get over there soon enough. So during all of this, Hoffman has the device, and he says, Marcus, I need you to hold on to this tracker. Actually, I think he gives all of it to Marcus. But the tracker is a separate piece. That little nozzle part that can go on and aim. He says, I need you to hold on to this. It's the most important part. If we do not have it, we're screwed. So he gives it to Marcus. And when Marcus hears about his father, Marcus says, screw it, I'm leaving. I'm saving my dad. I have to go save him. And Hoffman's like, what? We have people dying right now. People are going to die if we don't get there. Yeah, your dad. Like, I'm not a big fan of him. Yes, he's your father. You need to save your dad. Whatever. We have bigger fish to fry at the moment. People are going to get killed. And Hoffman says, don't care, I'm saving dad. And he's like, he does what he hates to do and bring up his rank. But he says, I am ordering you to get in that goddamn chopper and get over there and help us. You are ordered to right now by your superior officer. Hoffman says, I don't give a damn what you say. And then they start arguing more, dropping a lot of language that if I dropped all that, I'm certain demonetization is an option in this video, or age restriction even. And it gets to the point where he's about to drag Marcus in. Marcus cocks one back and decks the old SOB right in the face. And he knocks him down. Hoffman is down. Now, Hoffman's like, he's not in his 80s, but he's like an older man. He's like in his 60s or mid-50s at this point. Hoffman gets knocked down. Hoffman takes it hard. I believe he lost a tooth or two, I think they said. And he gets up and he says, I will do whatever I can do in my power to court-martial that son of a bitch. Like, Anya's trying to talk to him. I was like, nope, it's already been done. They heard it over the comms too. Everyone's heard it. Everyone knows. We can't just let it walk by now. I'm a commanding officer. I cannot let this man just walk out from doing that. If we were both in the trenches together, we bring it out behind the latrines and beat the crap out of each other until the message is taken care of. I can't do that now. I'm high rank. I'm the colonel of this entire military. I have to do something about this. And he does. Marcus gets put up there. He gets tried. If it wasn't for Adam and Prescott having some strings being pulled, he would have got the firing squad and killed like a day later. But he gets life in prison, and Hoffman says, I didn't want to do it. I don't like doing these things, but what else am I supposed to do? Like, I can't just say, oh, it's fine, you punched me in the face and let a bunch of innocent people die. By the way, he took that tracker with him, so people did die. A lot of people died because of Marcus. There's no getting around that. Marcus killed people. Like, he let people die, and Hoffman was very pissed about that. I think only 2 people lived. Everyone else is dead. They go through, and it's just, you know, like, Marcus is in prison. Hoffman is now leading people without Marcus. Marcus was, like, the big sign of, like not charisma, but, like, you know, like, morale. He was the morale of the crew before Cole was around. So, Hoffman's dealing with that, and everyone's dealing with, like, this hero from Asfield Fields is now life in prison. At that point, it's Hoffman's job to try and keep the peace. After this, we skip, I believe that happens in 10 AE. It comes down to 14 AE, so this is 4 years later. Marcus is let out of prison against Hoffman's orders. The slab was being cleared out, and the only person Hoffman said to stay was Marcus. He was going to let Marcus die in prison. The survival rate, by the way, for the slab is 2 years. Marcus lived for 4 before they busted him out. He didn't even get killed. They busted him out. He could have went longer. So, he says don't save him. He's going to die there. And he doesn't really know why he said it at that point. I think it's just he's holding on to his conviction as a soldier of like, no, screw this guy, what he did. But at the same time, he wants Marcus out. So, he does not stop Dom from going to get him. He even tells him, if you're going to go get him, bring some extra ammo and load up. Like, he openly says, get ready to go get him. Like, and even he's just like, I want Marcus out, but I still can't forgive the motherfucker for what he did. So he says, I can't forgive him for what he did, but if you're going to get him out, I can't just let him die there. Get him out. So they get him out, and this is where the events of Gears of War 1 begin. He doesn't play a major role here, but he works a lot of comms during this aside from Anya. He's the one who tells them about the mission, tells Marcus, you are a disgrace to the uniform. If it were up to anything else, I would have had you die in there. And while that's going on, he's telling Kim, here's the mission, resonator, make sure we have everything figured out, we're going to drop the light mass bomb, here's the plan. And sure enough, they go through with it until Kim dies. And then Hoffman's like, well, the only person fit for the job really is Marcus. We can't really put Baird in there because of what happened at Halvo Bay, so I guess Marcus is in charge, okay. So Sergeant Marcus Phoenix, welcome back to being in charge. He doesn't want to do it. He really doesn't, but he has to. I love that. So Hoffman appears at the very end of everything, too, when he is assisting Marcus and Dom against Rom. He is in one of the choppers. He's in one of the Ravens with the lights, helping out with Rom. And there's a very powerful scene at the end after they kill Rom and they drop the bomb, where Marcus is holding on to the chopper, and there's Hoffman. And I talked about this in the Marcus and Hoffman discussion video, but there's Marcus. Hoffman standing right there. And Hoffman chooses to put a hand out and bring him up. Like, it really is a scene of how he's like, you did kind of just help out and, like, possibly save mankind, so get on up here. I mean, I can't really forgive you still, but you did something, so thanks for that at least. After this, we get into the first book, and the books are very heavy with Hoffman from here on out. This is the first one, which is Asfield Fields. We get a lot of stuff involving Leveler we already talked about, but we also get a lot of stuff that's not seen. Gotta love mowers. For instance, we get introduced to Bernie at this point. Bernie is a major character that I mentioned earlier that's in Hoffman's life. This is a good friend of his and a possible love interest he could have had, but he let slip because he followed his military career. Bernie is a South Islander that'll kick your shit in. Like, no lie. She is one of the deadliest snipers that ever lived. She is a survivalist. She knows what she's doing. She was also over at Asfield Fields, but she was fighting along with Marcus. In the beginning of Asfield Fields, he is talking to Prescott, and he's saying, like, here's the current situation, here's everything that's going on, and him and Prescott already don't really see eye to eye, but he's gritting his teeth and dealing with it. He'll do that a lot from here on out. Bernie is found after 10 years of trying to return to her squadron, And Hoffman is nothing but happy as hell. Because he says, like, it's good to see you. Where have you been? We thought you were dead. We don't know what's going on. And she says, I've been gone for 10 years. I've been stranded. Like, I don't know what's going on. So they explain everything to her. And this is also when we get the North Gate situation, which is there. So North Gate, there's an area that's used for agriculture. So everything that people are eating for vegetables and plant life and animals is found over here. This is where they have their stockpile of food. Now, the Locusts figure this out, and they're going to go destroy it. So they are getting everything up and moving. And I'm really going to go light into this because there's a lot of things. There's a few parts of this story with Hoffman where things are a little like back and forth, back and forth. Northgate's kind of one of them. This is the area where he comes to contact with the Locust. He's going to go and save something or someone, or he's going to go back. This is a trap. Him and Ty are now locked in, and they're pretty much accepting their death. They turn their comms off. And he looks at Ty, and they both understand, we're going to die here. This is what's going to happen. We're dead. So, Marcus learns about this, and he says he's going to let himself die. He's not turning comms on because he doesn't want anyone coming to help him. If they die there, it's only the two of them dead. And again, this is a big problem because Hoffman is the highest-ranking military official at the time. So it's like, oh, crap, they got him. So they go over, Dom and Marcus, and they save him. He's alive. He's well. And this is when it comes to the situation where Marcus, he's mostly okay. Hoffman takes one in the ankle. They go through, and they're both in the infirmary. And this is where he has the situation with Marcus, which we've talked about in the discussion. I won't go heavy into it. Where he finally apologizes to Marcus for letting him die. He does not apologize, I believe, for putting him in prison in the first place. He does apologize for letting him die. He says, I'm sorry I was going to leave you for dead. Like, is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry. Like, yes. Yeah, you want to call me bastard? Sure, I'm a bastard. But I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. So, Marcus being Marcus is like, yep, okay, whatever. Doesn't really care. Like, he cares, but he's not going to show it at all. So, that's how he handles it, and that's like the Northgate fiasco. Gears of War 2 begins. And he's there with Prescott in the beginning. He's right behind him when Prescott's given the speech. Hollow Storm's about to happen. And this is the plan that Hoffman was a part of. We're going to go and fight them on their home turf now. Light Mass is gone off. A lot of them are taken out. The Krill is mostly extinct now because I guess all the Krill were just in one area of the hollow, the upper levels. And he said, this is our time to fight back. Like, this is what we've been waiting for. This is the fight back time. We're going to go in, take them out, we win. That was the plan. Now, during all of this, Hoffman, again, doesn't play a major role, honestly. Like, during the games, aside from like a few moments, he's not a big player, but he's a fan favorite, and he is a great narrative device in the books. Now, he goes in, and he's behind for the speech and everything, and when the speech is done, everyone goes off and they're going into the hollow. Now, we don't hear again from him until later on when he gets a hold of Delta, and he says, hey, I've been giving information and I'm taking over comms, sensitive information that'll help you take out the Locust and where you can find their home base. It's over at the New Hope facility. We have just been given this classified information. And they ask him, like, okay, well, what are we doing there? And he says, I have no clue. This is something that I didn't know about. This is something that was just told to me. I have no more information. Again, another crack begins to come up. Prescott is giving him information. After 14 years in this war, just now tells him about New Hope. Another crack is right in there for his endurance to deal with the government. Like, another crack. He's getting there. After all of this, they go through and find the New Hope stuff, and they figure out about, like, Mount Kadar is where we gotta go. So they go there, and they're doing everything. Comms are given back to Anya, and we don't see Hoffman again until the ending of 2. At the end, he is there in CIC in Jacinto, and they're planning out what to do. Him, Prescott, Anya, they're all there trying to figure out the next plan of action. And it's at this point when the Locusts have finally made their way to Jacinto. Jacinto was the last place they could be. They made it to Jacinto. And this is when he says, like, you know, Mark is like, we'll go take care of them, you guys get out of here. He says, no, I'm fighting. Like, they've come to the home turf, I'm stepping up and going in. And he fights alongside him, helps fight the Battle of Jacinto, takes him on out as he's going. And they get to the end with the Brumach, they take it out, and this is when the escape from Jacinto has to begin. And this is when him, Prescott, and Anya are all making their way out of here while the city is flooding. They do make it out. They take out some Locusts while they go, but it's a close call. They really almost did die at that point. Anya they thought would die, but she was pretty good with a sidearm. She's Helena's kid. Hoffman was like, yeah, you've got your mom's blood in you, you'll be okay. And then they get on the Raven, and then they just fly off. Jacinto is gone. Like, pretty much all the main places they could be or be safe are gone. Like, that giant pillar of granite, that plateau they're on, is destroyed. It's gone. Everything is destroyed. They don't know if the Locusts are still around or not. They probably are, they think, but not that much. They even come across them in the next area they go to. And that, I have it here, Port Farol, which is a very heavy winter area. Now, they go there, and it's a very brutal winter. The last of the civilians are with them, too, at this point. Everyone who's still alive, civilians, gears, anyone, is there. And this is where they're trying to figure out, okay, we need somewhere we can call home. This place very obviously is not the place. People are going to die here just from the cold. And everyone's trying to figure out where do we go. Okay, there's 2 island options we can think of, and this is suggested by Michelson. Michelson is a friend of Hoffman's that works over in the Navy base of everything. And Hoffman hasn't seen him for years. He was originally in charge of the piracy portion of things, fighting off piracy. But they kind of promoted him to the head of all the naval stuff because they're like, from here on out, we need to worry about Navy. Because they figured this man's at least going to know, like, a lot of the things going on in areas we can go to and places that are safe. He brings up 2 island locations, one of them being Vectis. And this is when Prescott once again says, Vectis might be a good choice. And they say, well, why? There's a nuclear place on there. It's like, it's bad. Like, if we go there, we have to deal with a nuclear fallout that's on that island. He says, not exactly. That place is okay. We're fine. There's no nuclear problem. We're good. And he says, what? And he says, also, there's a city there. There's a town of people there that don't know what's going on. Ooh, what? So this, again, like 3 or 4 more cracks in Hoffman, and he's getting pretty frantic at this point with Prescott. But he says, okay, Delta, go scout out Vectis. Tell us how it looks. Come back and tell us. And they come back and say, Vectis, all it has is just a stranded group on it. And the city doesn't even know what's going on. They don't even know what locusts are. It's on the other side of the abysmal trench. So they say, Hoffman's like, we're going to Vectis. Okay, everyone load up. Let's go. And they go. This is where the stranded insurgency begins. Like, I have it in my notes for different sections. The stranded insurgency is a very interesting thing to talk about because it overtakes, like, the next part, which is the Lambent pandemic. So it's like 2 different parts altogether. Well, the Locust War just encompasses all of it. So the stranded insurgents begins when they get to Vectis and they learn about the stranded on Vectis. The stranded have been attacking the town originally, and they go to the town and they say, listen, like we've done with everyone else, Lifeboat Initiative, you want to be a part of this community, you can come on over, get full amnesty, you're good. Some people do take them up on it. Some of the stranded say, sure, we'll do it. Others do not. Others are very violent. They are pretty much pirates. And during all of this stuff, some of them do come, and some of them, like Jacinto's already got a problem with them, the Jacinto residents, but they take them in. And there are other stranded that are attacking or causing guerrilla warfare with the town and the COG, and they are killing people. Keep that in mind. This isn't just some innocent kind of thing. People are dying. The gears pretty much go over and they are taking them out or capturing them. Originally, it's really just capture or subdue. It does turn into killing. Now, while all this is going on, Bernie is also with Hoffman and states when they went to take a look at the stranded, and we are just going to have to talk about this for a moment because it does come into Hoffman's character, so I am going to have to mention it here. During Bernie's time at sea and away, she was attacked and the hard R word was done to her by multiple stranded at once. She has already hunted down some and killed some of them. Another of them is at this place, in this stranded outpost. They take it upon themselves to go and capture him, and they do capture him. And Hoffman says, I will just kill him. I'll kill him here and now. But Bernie says, don't. And also Prescott is like, he needs to be tried. And this is when they come across some other things that are going on. There are... How do I put this, really? The stranded have a giant fleet of battleships all around the ocean, the Serrano Ocean. Like, they have their own armada. They are a pirate fleet. If you've seen One Piece, they are Orlumbus's crew. They are a fleet of battleships ready to go. If you fight that, like, even, like, I think Michelson said, like, no, like, they are very elusive. We could probably take them if they came close, because we've got heavy guns. But they are something we need to watch out for. If they all came at us at once, we need to be aware of what we're doing. If they caught us off guard, they could take us out. So, they get a hold actually, the guy gets a hold of them. The head of the stranded crew that is on the ocean gets a hold of them and says, we need him. He is someone that I want over here. There's a few things I need to talk to him about. And he's like, don't give me to him. Don't. Like, this man is evil. Do not give me to this man. And they're sitting there like, well, do we trade him or not? And like, they're on the boats ready to trade. And the stranded boat that's going to take him, it does not have the head of the stranded on it, gets blown up out of nowhere. And everyone's freaking out like, what the heck just happened? It just blew up. We don't know what's going on. The stranded think the cog dan says, screw your deal. We're out. Screw you. And they're like, we didn't do that. We don't know what happened. And out of nowhere, from the water, this again was a moment in the book where I was like, holy hell. A submarine emerges. Out of the top comes, and we'll get the name now, Trescu. The leader of the Grozny from the UIR comes out. How's it going? How's it going, comrades? He's not that jolly. He's not a jolly man. How's it going, comrades? And he's just like, I want to talk to your leader. And they're like, okay, sure. We don't really know what to make of this situation at the moment. And even Hoffman's like, what do you mean the UIR is still like the Grozny? They're supposed to be dead. Karn took them out. They go and see Prescott, and it baffles him even more. We want to join up with you, Cog. No, actually, I think Prescott said you can join up with us, or like he offered it. No, Trescu offered to join up, and in exchange, they get the Emerald Stand, not a pipeline, but an oiler they have, or something like that. And they say, we will give you that. It's yours if you give us a place to live. Because we don't have anywhere to live, and we have like 3,000 other people here. So Prescott takes him up on it. So now the official end of the Pendulum Wars, the Grozny are now Cog. So the Grozny Cog, they're kind of like self-called by like, not themselves even, but just like how they're referred to are the Grozny Cog. So you have the Grozny, ex-stranded, Jacinto residents, the military, all in this one little town that had no clue the Locusts were even like, they knew the Locusts were a thing, but didn't know the Locusts were like as bad as it is. And yeah, a lot of heads start butting, and this is where more cracks start to come up on Hoffman. This is probably a good time also to talk about Sam. She is also around right now. Like, she's already been around, but this is where she's more introduced. And Sam really is like a daughter figure to Hoffman. He sees her like a daughter. And like a goddaughter mostly. And he's very careful about her. He wants her to be safe, but he also understands she's a badass, she can handle herself. So you see her, Anya, and Bernie together a lot of the times. And they're like the female femme fatale of the group. They're the ones that can kick your ass in a heartbeat. And I felt like it was at least mentionable because I at least want to get some of his relationships out in this video. And that's kind of one of them, how he sees her as a daughter. Bernie is like his love, but also like, hey, we have to survive humanity still. So I thought at least I could mention her at one point. So during all of this stuff that's going on, by the way, when the Grozny come, and months go by and there are issues sprouting up, not just on land with the Grozny and everyone else, but ships that are going out to sea aren't coming back, or they're found destroyed. Originally, it was thought that Trescu was hiding off one of his naval ships, his big ones, for their own personal gain or doing something, but he says, I don't know what's going on, I don't know what you're saying I'm doing, I'm not doing anything. Whatever's happened, I can't figure it out. And at first they think you're lying, and you really do believe he's lying, until it's like, no, other things are missing and getting destroyed. Like, it's very apparent. And they do find the ship later on, it's like, it's very apparent he is not lying. And everything's going missing. Everything is being destroyed. And the missing ships, they think the stranded are doing it. They're taking them. But when things get destroyed, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, the stranded need resources. Why would they destroy something they can use? It doesn't make any sense. The bodies are missing. There's guns being shot in the ships. There's bullet holes everywhere. What is going on? There's obviously something going on here. And this is brought up here and there as the story goes with all the political problems going on. And you really are wondering what the hell is going on right now. Like, is there another faction? Are the Locusts making their return? Because the Locusts aren't really watery creatures. They don't go out on ships or boats that often. Like, they have them, but they don't use them that much. So you're like, what is going on here? And from there, it really does take a step back until we get to the land, because there's so many other things going on. Like, Hoffman is involved with so much political stuff during this portion of the book. It is insane how much. But they keep going away from that subject, and then you come up to this situation of interrogating some of the stranded that have been taken, trying to figure out what's happening to the ships, or information on the stranded in general, the pirates and everything. Like, this is when stuff starts to go down to where views and opinions start to clash. Hoffman and Tresque do not like each other. They really never have. Up until the very end, they kind of have like a mini sort of like Sasuke Naruto thing going on, but at this point, they just hate each other. And Prescott kind of gives Tresque the okay to interrogate the stranded, and Hoffman's like, I don't want him doing it. I have a certain way we're going to do this. And Tresque's got no problem killing people. He goes in, he kills the stranded. Like, to prove a point, he kills one, and he's just like, you don't tell me what I want? And they do tell him what he wants. And I believe later on it is stated he still killed those other 2 stranded. So he has no problem killing. And he even says, I think of my men who have died when I go in and deal with that. I have had a lot of people die because of stranded. It is stated, like, the stranded did a lot of horrible stuff to the Grozny after Karn. It wasn't just Karn that screwed him up. The stranded did a lot of horrible stuff afterwards. So he has a lot of issues, Tresque, he's trying to take out on the stranded, which, when his discussion comes, he has a lot of problems to deal with. I'll talk about him. His is a very fun talk. So going from there, we get the situation where everything's getting out of control. The civilians are having problems with the ex-stranded. The ex-stranded are having problems with everyone. Everyone's having problems with the ex-Grozny. And it's just a constant argument where Hoffman's trying to keep the peace, but he can't do it. And Marcus, for some reason, is the best diplomat you've ever seen, walks in and says, everyone play nice, shut the hell up, everyone's okay, we're figuring this out, get out of here. And everyone listens to him. And Hoffman's just like, okay, you can handle this better than I can. That's why you are here. I can see that now. So, going from here, we kind of officially get into the Lambent pandemic. The Lambent are finally making a scene now, and Hoffman has to deal with it. How will he? Well, first he has to figure out what they are. And they figure out what they are because they finally crack the code on the ships and what's going on. It turns out that Lambency is currently making its way up from under the water and affecting everything in the ocean. Now, Hoffman is trying to figure out how to deal with that problem. And by what they figure out is, like, when they haul up the ships, there'll be a glowy one now and then, and it explodes. And everyone gets killed. Or polyps are making their way up, and they're just taking people out and killing them. Hoffman decides this is the limit the boats are going out. Or I think later on he even decides, no ships are going out. We're not risking anyone's life. We're not doing that. No one's going out. The Lambent are obviously a problem. We're not dealing with it. And they kind of have an idea because Marcus did report in about what Lambency was in 2, and they saw the Brumach. So they understand Lambency. So he understands these explosions will kill people. No, everyone get away. Like, Lambent are bad. So props to Hoffman for actually remembering the Lambent and being like, no, this is a very bad situation. No one go here. So they do that. And during all of this, still more political problems, and we learned in 3 the Lambent become a major problem, and they still do. But during all of this, the cracks in Hoffman's armor and his patience are so worn down, the power struggle begins on the island. Remember, a lot of people are dead. 99% of humanity is gone, and only a pocket of people are left that still have order. There is a big argument of power that go on between Prescott, Tresque, Hoffman, and Michelson. Now, Hoffman and Michelson are kind of on the same side. Tresque's kind of okay with Prescott, so it's kind of split into 2. It's the situation of leadership and how things are going to be done. Everyone's kind of seeing it as Prescott does need to be in charge because there's at least an elected official that at least has some form of power here. They kind of just ignore the mayor of Vectis. It's kind of funny. But they bring up too, like, and Michelson brings up to Hoffman, like, if we really wanted to, we have the Navy and the military. We could just ignore his orders and nothing bad's going to happen. Like, we run everything. So, and Tresque's kind of like, we need to figure out the Grozny because I am leading the Grozny. It's very apparent that I am a leader here and my voice needs to be heard. So it's more of a 3-way split because Michelson's with Hoffman most of the time. But it's a big old split where it's like something needs to be figured out here because it's very apparent like none of this is working right now because there's arguments over interrogation, how things are run, the Lambent problem, all of this is going on. So we jump from there and we kind of go over to the Emerald Spar. That's the name of it, not Emerald Stand. So the Emerald Spar is the giant oil driller that pretty much is getting all the emulsion for the Grozny. They are the only ones producing emulsion at this time. They have not really linked heavily emulsion and the Lambent. They haven't really linked it that well. But they understand this is the only way we have fuel for the ships and everything. This is the only thing we have that's getting emulsion. And this is also actually a town of Grozny. Like, Grozny live on this thing. And the Grozny are pretty badass. Like, they are able to fight on their own, wrenches and everything. And they go there, and while they are there, the polyps start to climb up this thing, and they're attacking. Now, I don't know if, like, they can sense other human life, because this thing's been here for a while. They could have done this for a while. I don't know if they sense human life or if it's the case of like they were just in the area and decided to do it. But they decided to do it. And they go up, and Hoffman's there for this one. He's already sent Delta and everyone else, like Alex Brand has been there, Jace has been there, I believe, to at least scout it out and understand the place. This is the first time he's kind of there overseeing things. He's not on the ground, but he's up, I believe, in one of the birds. And it comes down to like he's observing, and he says like, I'm going to come down and help. And they said, no, you're the highest military official. We can't have you down here. But he says, if shit gets bad, if things are, you're getting your ass kicked, I'm coming down to help. And they say, you know what? Fine. And it really does turn into that. Things get bad, he comes down and helps. And they are able to evacuate everyone. The entire thing is up on fire. And they know, like, this place is going down. And they're fighting everything off. They finally figure out the only ones left up there, I believe, are Marcus, Dom, Hoffman, and I don't remember who the fourth was. I think it was Baird and Cole, but I don't think they were there. I think Brand was there, I think. But everyone gets off of there safely, but they lose the only ready source of emulsion that they have left for anything that they can power. When they return from that whole little kitten kaboggle, they sit down and they talk and they understand, like, you know, our emulsion's gone. This is looking bad for everybody. This isn't good at all for any person involved. And they talk with Prescott, and again, it's a huge argument of just like, so much political argument is in this. I'm not a fan of this portion, but it's a good read because like they do bring up like stuff that keeps you invested, but it's still like one of the weaker parts in my mind. So they keep having these arguments, and they finally leave the office. Trescu and Hoffman leave Prescott's office, and they start to talk, and he says, I don't like you. You don't like me. Honestly, I hate you. You're Cog. I hate you to death. But I trust you. And that's the biggest thing you need to take away from this. Hoffman does not have a good relationship at all with Prescott. And it comes to the point he does not trust him. He does not like Trescu. But he does trust him. He understands if Fit hits the Shan, they can still trust one another to keep each other's backs above water. They trust that they can keep information between the two of them. So this forms the situation where it's kind of like, I trust the UIR more than I trust my own boss, who's the head of my entire country. This is the most horrible thing I could think of, but it's come down to that now. He's the only one I can trust is Trescu. So when they finally come back from that, they have to start preparing the island because they understand the Lambden are out there. They're causing problems. Stalks are coming up. That also took down some of the ships. And the polyps are climbing up, which are like spider emulsion creatures. And he says they're going to be coming here. They've already gone after everywhere else humans have been. It's very apparent this island, they're coming. Like, we can't stop that. There's nothing we can do about it. We have to fight them here and now. So Hoffman sits down and he decides, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have everyone prepared. We're going to have everything set up, sandbags, wiring, everything. And we are going to dig ditches everywhere. And we are going to fill that stuff up with emulsion, and we are going to torch it and blow them up when the time comes. Because when they're climbing, there's like hundreds of thousands of them that are climbing up one another. Hundreds of thousands is a little much, like thousands. That's a better way to put it. So he decides, instead of shooting them all and having them blow up and cause problems, one big explosion. Take them all out. That's the plan. And honestly, it's not a bad plan. He even says, like, I think there's a time he says, like, this reminds me of what I did at Anvil a little bit. So that's kind of where I got the strategy. So they take days preparing this island. They're getting it ready. And that is when the enemy comes. And it's not it's not the Lambden. It's the Stranded. The Stranded fleet appear. Remember the pirates? They're back. They've already been around, but this is where they have come up. And they come up and say, we want to talk to your leader. And they say, no. And they say, we're going to talk to your leader. And they're like, well, you bring up a good point. Michelson even says we could probably take them with what we have at hand. We could probably take them out, but it would still be a fight. So they go and talk to Prescott, and the leader of the Stranded says, and it's the same guy this entire time, he says, we're going to help you out fight the Stranded. They're causing problems for us too. We're all going to get together and fight them. And Prescott's like, okay, sure, why not? So he says, all right, we're helping you. Come on, guys, let's get over there. We're going to go help them out. He's more charismatic about it, but that really is what it boils down to. We need help. Come on, let's go, guys. We can't beat them alone. They can't beat them alone. We're going to team up with them so we can all live. And they do team up. They get together, and it's very a little hostile, but they're all under the understanding we need to fight together or we're all going to die. So they kind of get along, and this is when the Lambent finally arrive, and oh my god. So much stuff happens in this part. Get ready for this. The lambent arrive. And there are some polyps that are coming up like normal. Yeah, sure, there's that. They bring in a lambent leviathan. They bring in 2 that are swimming right in. And they're going to try taking everything out. Now, this is big because they're like, this is before 3, by the way. What do we do about leviathans? Like, how do we blow them up? And Hoffman and them are kind of just like, well, shoot it. So a bunch of polyps are coming in. Like, everyone's in a different area during all this, by the way. Like, no one is at one area. Like, Bernie, Baird, Sam, they're over on another side of the island. Marcus and them are out fighting. Hoffman's trying to figure out things at control and going out and fighting. They're torching up ditches everywhere. And they're doing a good job, honestly, but it is getting hairy. They have lost cogs, stranded, and civilians have all died. Not that many, like, I think a dozen each around that, but people are dying. This is a fight. People are getting killed. And they're fighting, and they finally take down this Leviathan. They kill it. It booms, and obviously polyps come out of it, but they take him out. And they're like, okay, we're doing good. And that's when they say, okay, there's another one coming. The second one is coming. And at this moment, there's a small lull in the battle. They're still fighting, but it's a little like the calm before the storm. They're just shooting polyps, like they can see where they're coming and they're taking them out. It comes to the part where Hoffman goes in and finds Prescott and says, what are you still doing in your office? You got to evacuate. Get with the citizens. Come on, let's go. And Hoffman, very patiently, is like, okay. Like, he even hands him a Lancer, but I think like Prescott doesn't take it. And like he goes through, opens up his drawers, takes something out, relocks it, and he's like, oh, I'll put that in there. All right. He takes out a pistol. All righty, let's go. And he's just patient about all this. And Hoffman is just done with him. Like, at this point, with all the lies and all the information held back, Hoffman's done. So after he gets him out of here, Hoffman doubles back to his office, picks the lock open on his drawer, and takes out a data disk. And the data disk is A2897. So he takes this and he says, whatever this is more information he's hidden from me. I'm taking it. And he's sitting there like, I just stole from the chairman of the entire COG. This is bad. I just committed treason pretty much. But he takes it. And that's when he gets a hold of Baird later on, but Baird and them get a hold of him like, there's another one coming. Actually, control this. There's another one coming. What do we do? And he says, okay. I think Baird says, like, we need to use the Hammer of Dawn. And he's like, but the Hammer of Dawn really isn't good for aiming anymore. And he's kind of like, I can fix it. Like, Baird's like, I can fix it and make it work. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, yes, I can do it. Are you definitely sure? I can do it. So Baird dingles with it and gets it working. They're all fighting more polyps out there, by the way. Like, there's more coming in on this Leviathan. The Leviathan is closer to the shore base where control is. So they're trying to lure it away so when they blow the thing up, it doesn't take everyone out with it. So they get it away a little bit. And Baird hits it. He hits it all right. And it explodes. Takes out an entire wall from the naval base. A giant crater is made. Polyps are blowing up. They're rushing out of the dead body. It is just utter chaos. But they do it. They take him out. That's all of it. They finally kill all of them. And they start handing scorchers out so they can burn away the bodies. And that's pretty much when the stranded leader comes out and says, okay, we're done. We helped you out. They're dead. Screw all y'all. We're out ski. Later. And they leave. And they're kind of like, well, they helped. I mean, we can't really just go after them anymore, deal with them. And Hoffman's pretty much like, yeah, we can't. We have bigger problems we need to deal with. Like this data disk. With the data disk in hand, he thinks, who can I go to with this? And he decides, I'm going to tell Cole and Baird. Like, this is a very secret thing. I don't need people to know, but Delta needs to know. So he gets to them and he says, Baird, I need you to look at this. He originally tells Bernie, and Bernie tells him to tell Baird because he trusts Bernie. But he tells Baird, like, I need you to decrypt this. I can't get into it. I don't know how to get into it. I need you to. And he says, yeah, I can get into it. And he tells them, like, I stole this. This is Prescott's. And this just makes Baird more excited. He's like, yes, I very much want to get into this now. And he goes off to work on it, and he tells Cole, like, I want you to tell Marcus and Dom. I want all of you to know so there's no secrets between anyone. But keep it between the four of you. I don't need anyone else knowing about this disc. So he does it. He talks to Prescott. And Prescott knows he took the disc. And he says, do you know what's on it? And he says, you can tell me if you know what's on it. And he figures out, like, yeah, Prescott doesn't know. So he just gets that little sly charisma of Prescott, like, well, if you don't know, I ain't going to tell you. Like, oh, yeah, you got a disc. Big whoop for you. And it just pisses him off to the point he's ready to punch him. They're just done with Prescott. They're just finished with him. So he goes back to Baird later on, a few days later, and says, did you figure out what's on it? And Baird has no clue. He can't open it. He says, I can't crack this thing. I can't open it. I can't do anything. I have no clue what's on this disc. And he hands it back to him like, I can't do it. And this is a big thing, because he's like, even Baird can't like figure out what this is. These decryption codes that are off COG, because they're not in the COG database or anything, he's like, what the hell is he hiding? What the hell is on this disc so much that he knows I took it, and he's not worried because it's that decrypted. Like, what is on this disc? And he sits there like, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. And at this point, too, also, Prescott, like, mysteriously leaves. And it kind of comes down to Trescu, Michelson, and Hoffman as being in charge of everything. And it kind of works, aside from the fact that Prescott left them a broken product. So they're kind of like, well, can't really do anything because everything's kind of already broken. But, well, I guess, because at this point, Trescu's also like, I need to take my people somewhere else. This is obviously not working. And Hoffman's like, yeah, it's not working. It ain't working. They collapse the COG. They have one last ceremony, everyone together, and they bring the flag down and say, this is the end of the COG. The COG is no more. We no longer have a government. I believe someone says, we're all stranded now. And it's a situation where he says, like, goodbye to Trescu. And Trescu, I believe, is very nice about it and says just, like, I hope well for your people. I hope everything will be okay. And I hope to see you again sometime. And they kind of understand, like, we're all the same. Like, Pendulum Wars is no longer a problem. We are all the same here. And it's really touching. Another part of the story that really hit me. And I was like, damn, that's some hefty stuff. But everyone's going their separate ways. Michelson is taking everyone onto the ships that want to go with him. Hoffman is heading off back to Anvil Gate. Anyone that wants to go with him is free. And they're not separate. They're, like, openly giving them options. They're like, you can go with whoever you feel. I mean, I bet even Trescu would have been like, if any Jacinto people want to come with, you can come with. Sure, why not? So they all three go their separate ways. They try and keep contact, but all the comms go down. Like, Trescu's the first one, because Trescu's just off doing his own thing. I don't think he cared about comms at that point. But then you lose comms between Michelson and Hoffman. And you don't really know what's going on except for the books and the comics, what's happening on Hoffman's side of things. When we get to Anvil Gate with Hoffman, he gets there and he says, this is where I think we would be safest. It's never been broken into. Yes, it's a bit of a trek to get everyone here, but this is the safest place we can go. And he brings them. Bernie and Dizzy come along with him, along with a slew of civilians, and they go there. And he says, this is where my entire career, my entire way of living comes from. This is what defined me as an individual. And again, everything just comes back to Anvil Gate. There's a book, Anvil Gate. Everything for Hoffman will always come back to Anvil Gate. So they go in, and it's nothing but constant memories that flood into his head. He's like, that's where Sanders was killed. That's where Sam was killed. The fire that happened. And while they're driving there, before they even get in, like, before he has all those memories, he's even going in, like in the building and outside, everything has changed within, like, the 30 or 40 years I've been gone. The landscape is different. There's forests everywhere. Grass is around here, because it used to be, like, a very dead area. He goes around, like, the building on the inside are different. There's new guns on the wall. Like, everything has changed. But, like, the foundations are still there from the original place. And he's like, this is where it all began. And he gives Bernie a tour of it all, because he always told Bernie, I'll tell you about Anvil Gate, I'll tell you about it. He finally does, and he says, let me show you Anvil Gate now, where my entire life kind of began, and I got miniature traumas that popped up and stemmed from there. Miniature. He had some major ones from Anvil. So they go through, and they bring everyone from Vectis, really. Like, all of the people from Vectis actually wanted to go with. Like, Vectis went to Anvil Gate, Jacinto's people went on the ships, and the Grozny kind of went with Trescu. That's kind of how it boiled down. And the original mayor of Vectis is still alive at this point. And Hoffman goes up to him and says, well, you're in charge. And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I was a clerk for most of my life. I was just so happened to end up a mayor of a village. Like, I can't lead all these people in a military. And he says, I will help you with all of that. Don't worry about that part. But it's very apparent that you should be the leader here. Like, you're the closest government official that's elected that we have. Good news, you're the chairman of Anvil Gate now. And he says, I don't want to do it. And he says, I will help you. We'll all help you. And he's nervous. He doesn't want to do it. But Hoffman's like, I will handle the military things, and I will do what you tell me to do. Because Hoffman does not want to be a leader. He's never wanted to be a leader. But he's willing to understand, Like, he tried being a leader once, and it's a lot deeper than what I went over when, like, the three of them were in charge of Vectis. But again, it did not last long, and it broke apart quick. He understands after that, hey, even if it was working, I might not have panned out too well. You're in charge, bud. I'll be your second in command if you want. A few days later, you have a bunch of pack horses coming in, which are like the vehicles they have. And Bernie's ready to fire, and he says, Bernie says, don't shoot. Who's ever coming to the door, like, do not come shoot who's ever coming. They are unarmed. They are fine. Because Bernie can see who it is. And the person comes walking out of the pack horse, and Hoffman comes out, and it's Patrick goddamn Sultan, that old red-haired, now white bastard's back. And he's like, Hoffman, how's it going? They go in for a hug, and he's like, I thought you were dead. And he's like, nah, I've been chilling with the Pasangas? The Pensang, whatever, I'll call him the bad one. Pensang, the one I know is wrong. And he's like, I've been chilling with them the whole time. And he's like, they're alive? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, the leader wants to talk to you. She does? So this old lady comes out, heavy accented. Hello, Hoffman. And he's like, it's an honor to meet you. They both bow. And she says, you don't know who I am, do you? He's like, I can't say I do. I'm sorry. She holds up some cloth and takes it off. And there is Hoffman's Embry star sitting in her hand. And his mind is like, and she says, everyone here is Bai's children and grandchildren. The money you gave us was able to make the farm successful, and we were able to live normal lives. Even with the locust going on, we were able to live good lives because of you. Everyone here is thankful for you. And all of them come out, and even Jossie's obviously in there, Jossie Tack, the pilot from Hivebusters, and he's like, oh my God. He's like, Bai, I miss you so much, man. If only you could see they're all still okay. Because he has that sense of, like, at least they're okay. But you can tell they're all thinking, like, it's thanks to you, Hoffman. And he doesn't know how to handle it. He's missing Bai the entire time. He's missing Delta. Like, he's sitting there just like, was this a good idea to come to Anvil? He's talking to Bernie, and Bernie's like, these people are alive because of you. Patrick and Bai's family are alive because of you. We're in a good place. Impenetrable. Like, you're doing a good job, Hoffman. And he's like, that's what I needed to hear. Oh, good. It's getting really warm in here. It's getting really, really warm. But we're almost done with Hoffman. All right, where was I before? I had to take a small break to get some water. So where was I? Okay, 4 months after moving into Anvil and finally getting situated, they ended up coming across, Bernie came across, a group of locusts hiding off in the, kind of like in the hills in a cave system, kind of 6 to 12. I think they said around 6. And there were 6 locusts that were there, and Bernie took care of them. Hoffman was worried he was going to lose Bernie, but Bernie said, I got it, it's 6, it's not going to be a problem. And that's when he realizes, too, oh crap, oh shit, the locusts are still a thing. It's funny because, like, during all the lambent and everyone moving, everyone's kind of like, it's been a while since we were worried about the locusts, hasn't it? Yeah, it's been a little while. It's like, the locusts, like, everyone knows the locusts are still around, but it seems like everyone's like, not much of a threat as much as it used to be. It used to be a bigger problem. We can live with it. I always thought it was funny. So, from there, it's a good year before anyone gets any contact or information from Anvil Gate and Hoffman. Now, that's because, like, comms were down, and they were already down before they found the locusts, but it was more like, we don't know anything. Like, we as the viewers, we know nothing about within that year. By the sound of it, everything went pretty well. They do state like they've been seeing more and more locusts as of late, so they definitely dealt with more of them. It wasn't like those 6 were the only ones that they saw. The next time we hear from them is when Delta comes crashing down from the sky, and they have to go check it out, and Hoffman finds them, and he's like, okay, what's going on here? I know I wouldn't be seeing all of you over at Anvil Gate just to check in and say, hello, how's it going? He's like, what's the reason you're here? Because Marcus, you wouldn't just come here to ask about my health. What's going on? Like, what's the situation? And that's when they tell him, like, hey, we found the information we need to open that data disk of yours. Do you still have it? And he's like, of course I still have the thing. I've never been able to open it. And they said, we know how to get into it now. Prescott gave it to us. And he says, like, oh, that's great to know. How's Prescott doing? Prescott's dead. And he's like, well, okay. Well, I never really liked the guy in the first place, but it was more like, things must be going bad if Prescott's dead, you have the key to it, and the Locusts are coming by more. What's going on? And this is when they start to figure out the disc, but they also tell them, hey, before we can get into the disc, we got a lot of Locusts coming this way. And that's when Hoffman says, well, time for good old Anvil Gate Mark II. Battle of Anvil Gate number 2. Let's do it. I don't know if this is a testament to the Locusts or if Anvil Gate was overhyped, because in the game, you fight to defend Anvil Gate, and there are 3 major blast doors before they get to the interior. And here's the thing. The Locusts pretty much get through all the doors. They don't get through the final door, but they get through all of the doors leading up. A Siege Beast gets through, Maulers are getting through, Boomers are blowing things down. They're getting through the gates. And Hoffman, he's not worried, because he understands Anvil Gate extremely well. Again, they've also been here for over a year. They do still, like, even though Hoffman knows the place, they have still been here over a year. They've had a year to prep for something like this. So, they did. They had the contingency plan. Their last resort was a giant fuel tanker they were going to drop in there and blow it. The same kind of tactic he somewhat had during the original Anvil Gate. He was going to drop in fire and torch it all out. And that's what they did, and it worked. So they defended Anvil Gate, and then they can finally look into the disc. And that's when they learn about Azura. And he says, he pretty much goes like, that's what's been on this disc the entire time. This is where everyone's been going, the scientists. And they're like, it's looking like that's what it was. And he's like, I feel Hoffman was at least like relieved. Because he's sitting there like, I finally figured out what's on the damn disc. I've been scratching my brain trying to figure it out forever. After they do that, they get comms from Bernie. Hey, because at this point, like, the groups are kind of broken up. Like, Delta was going in, and Anya and Sam were coming in behind them in a mini truck convoy. And they get a heads up, like, hey, Sam and Anya are here, but they've been detoured, and the Locust and Lambent are both attacking them. You need to get in there and save them. And that's when you decide, I believe Hoffman stayed behind for this, but he's like, you guys gotta go get them and come back, and then we can, like, fortify and stay in, like, Anvil. So they go and get both of them and bring them back, and that's when the Lambent Berserker comes in, just starts wrecking house. I don't remember if Hoffman was fighting him or not. I don't think he was. I don't think Hoffman fought the Lambent Berserker, but they take him down. And again, like, I wouldn't say like he broke through the defenses. He pretty much hopped over them. So I would say Hoffman, end of it all, Anvil Gate stayed standing. I think you did a good job. Finally, the next day comes after everyone gets supplied. They have the information. And Marcus notices, like, you're not really jumping at the chance to come with. This isn't the Colonel Hoffman I know who normally would. And Hoffman says, I'm getting too old for this. I'm going to stay behind and defend Anvil Gate. These are my people. We've been doing good so far. I want to make sure that nothing gets past here. This is where we're going to hold the line. And we'll get to it when we get to, like, the memory he has at the very end, which is coming up in a moment. But he's like, they really assumed, like, they'd be coming right for Anvil Gate. Like, that was what I really thought was funny. Like, there were a lot of Locusts left that were not over on Azura. And they chose, I don't know, maybe they thought, like, one final strike on everything was their plan. Maybe. I don't know what Mira told them, but it seemed that way. So he says, we're going to stay behind. And Bernie's like, yeah, we'll shoot him off the porch. And I'm like, classic Bernie. So they stay behind. And when they go to the island, while they're doing everything, getting to Adam's machine, Anvil Gate gets heavily attacked. I don't know. By the look of it, it seems like they fixed the blast doors or had some more ready to go. I don't know. But, like, the entire battle for Anvil, as we can tell, is mostly on the outside. They're holding the walls. And, yeah, Locusts are getting over the walls, but nothing's seeming to break into it. Like, yeah, there's a lot of damage on the inside, but it doesn't seem a Locust has gotten in. So it really does seem like, Hoffman, you were not kidding. No one is breaking these walls. Like, give the man credit. Him and Bernie, along with the rest of the gears that went with him, aside from Dizzy, because Dizzy was over on Azura, they sat there and they were ready to die because he was that confident. Like, it wasn't even confidence at that point. He sat there thinking, I'm going to die at Anvil Gate. This is where it ends. I will hold the line until they shoot one right through my head. And even then, they're climbing over these walls. They are not getting through. And you hear him while he's fighting. You're sawing through. You're fighting on the walls with Bernie and Hoffman. And he's like, "You bring it, you son of a bitch." Just fucking shooting, dropping people, boom shots. It is chaos. It is a fire. The way they did it in 4, I have gripes with Asfield Fields. I think the beginning of E-Day is okay. What they did with the defense of Anvil Gate, boom, it was amazing. If you skipped his memories or you don't care about them or you haven't played 4, at a minimum, play the first 15 minutes and go play the Anvil Gate part. That is amazingly done. I love it to death. They do that, and they're just firing off until the machine goes off and kills everything. Lambent, Locust, all of it. And they're sitting there. He actually did it. And I'll tell you, I will tell you what, that was... He finally got some rest at that point, you know, like, that all his entire life, he's finally gotten to this point where he's like, the war's over. We did it. Marcus did it. We're safe. And you learn that he did go into retirement. Like, not semi-retirement. Because, again, like, they were cleaning up the bodies, moving all the crystals when the war was over. And he's sitting there like, there's no place for me anymore. Like, the war's done. I'm an old man. Bernie's not getting any younger. I'm just going to go chill on the islands with her. Like, what else am I going to do? So that's what they do. Now, obviously, once Anya was placed in charge as the new minister, because that was the new system they put in place. She wasn't a chairman. She was the new minister. He very obviously stayed over there now and then. He went by now and then and was like, well, I can at least help you, like, give you counsel with war or something. I don't know. Like, whatever you'd like. And, I mean, I'm sure she took some of it, but they were focused on rebuilding at that point. So he was like, well, Bernie, come on, let's go chill the island. Let's go. And that's what happened. Honestly, once that was done, he just went to chill. So after that happened, here's the thing. I had not read this, and it's not on the wiki. I didn't get a lot of my info from the wiki, but I got some. And I knew this wasn't going to be on the wiki. For some reason, I had a gut feeling, and it wasn't, so I had to go research it. He comes up in the book Bloodlines, because he's over near, like, in the capital, New Ephyra. He's there. And he's just because he's an older man at this point. He's old, like how we see him in Hivebusters. He's that old. And he's wheeling around, and he has the idea of, like, well, I want to know how some of the people I knew are faring nowadays, or if they're still alive. I want to see what happened to them. So he was going to the records to look up the Diaz family. That's when he comes across Kate, and he talks to Kate, and he's like, oh, you're Kate Diaz, I served with your dad in the Pendulum Wars. I knew him at the beginning of the Locust, and he was a major player, but I don't know what happened to him after he left. I'm trying to sound older as I talk, I don't know. Oh, yeah, well, what happened to your old pa of yours? He died of rust lung. My mom's dead. Oscar's alive. He's like, well, at least Oscar's alive. That's good to know. Come by sometime. I'll tell you more about your papa. Just wheels up. See you later. They meet again. And this is when he says, like, oh, yeah, your dad was involved in some more classified stuff. The information you can find, a lot of it's redacted. I don't know why I'm pretending I'm still in the wheelchair moving. He's probably just sitting there. Oh, yeah, you can't really find too much more on your dad, but I can tell you right now, when you go looking up stuff about your dad, keep the name Ukon in mind. Remember that. Ukon is something you need to know. And Kate's just like, I've heard that name before. Somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe when I was like a really young kid, but then no one ever talked about it again. I don't know, hell if I know what it's about. It's just those tactics under the... Like, that's how we get introduced to tactics, technically. That's the introduction to tactics. But with how it's, like, talked about, kind of just kicked it under the rug, like, no one needs to care about Ukon. But, yeah, and then after that, we get to the final portion of his story, where he ends up confronting Jin, and this is where the Swarm are around. Swarm's already around when he talked to Kate, but they're very much around. They're a deadly threat. And he's having an argument with her. It's very apparent that he's a military advisor at this point. Like, he's sort of semi-retired, but not really. And he's sitting there like, look, the DBs are not going to be able to do this. The DBs they're too clunky. They don't know what they're doing. They've never fought an enemy like this. Humans have. We have the ability, we have the gumption, we have the mindset to battle this. Jim's response to that is, we are low on human beings. More people that die are the less chances we have of rebuilding humanity. Human beings as a general, just in general, we can make more DBs and we can send them out to fight. Here's the thing. I'm not like a leader. I don't know a lot of things about diplomacy or politics. I don't know whose side was right on that one. I do not like Jin. But at the same time, she is right. We can't be throwing humans to the slaughter. But Hoffman's also right. The DBs, even Baird has said, are not made to be fighting a war. Like, they can go in and enforce. They cannot fight a war. You got to take a side with whoever you pick on that one. So Jin has enough of him and just says, you know what? Forced retirement. See you later. Honorable discharge. Bye-bye. And she kicks him out of the cog pretty much. Officially, he is officially 100% done with the cog at this point. So he's wheeled in. He wheels himself back to the islands. Wheels himself back. He probably took a plane first before he did that and said, screw this. Jossie, Hana, we're setting up our own team, our own coalition with blackjack and hookers. So they decided, he talks to Hana like, we're setting up an operation for the cog. It's involving the Hivebuster initiative, and we're going to get them all together, and we're going to bust the hives and save humanity from the inside out. And Hana's down for it. Hana has no clue about any of this. And he didn't tell her, because I really feel like he was like, she's not going to, even if she would go along with it probably, but he's like, if you don't know, and we get in trouble, like, you can say you had no idea what was going on, and I'm the one behind all this. Like, he probably did it to save her skin at the end of the day. That's probably why he did it. I think that does it. Currently, he is still alive. He is okay. He's still leading the Hivebusters. What do we expect from him in the future? Well, he is very old. A lot of characters from that era are gone. Bernie, it's not stated, but it is implied she's passed. We don't know anything about Dizzy. Patrick, we don't know anything about. I'm assuming he's also passed. A lot of people have passed on. Hoffman is, as far as we're aware, aside from the captain of the Onyx Guard, he is the only one that still held like a large level of influence from that era that is still alive. There's no one else. He could go. I don't think he will, but he could. I think Hoffman's going to live. I think he's going to be around. I think he's going to have a few more interactions. Maybe he'll have a last stand where he's in his wheelchair, busts out a Lancer, and just takes out a few more before he's overrun. Like, he'd go out swinging the way he'd want to. Like, that's my guess. Like, that's what we got. Some trivia about him. He was supposed to die in 3. He was supposed to go with them to get the sub and die there. But Karen Travis, bless her goddamn soul, said he was, because she wrote for 3. She decided he is way too much of a narrative piece, and he is too important to the stories and getting the history through. She did not want to kill him in case she ever needed to do that again, which after the game, the slab came out, and he has more history he lets out. So I'm very happy she didn't kill him. I think his character was very well done. I think he was right character to say, I'm staying here, I have people to defend. I think he was perfect. His character development from 2 and 3 was perfectly done. I think he is one of the best written characters, but his history is so long, it's hard to talk about him. And yeah, that's Hoffman, man. I can't believe I just made it through all that. This is going to be one of the longer videos on the channel, if not the longest. I don't think it will be the longest, but it's going to be up there. I feel like I'm about to die from sweating. So I want to thank you guys for joining me for the Hivebuster discussion series. It's taken us a very, very long time to get through it. I feel like a champion right now with how well I did. Oh my goodness. From here on out, I'll give you a quick heads up. Let's just put that there. I am going to be taking a small break from discussion series. I'm still going to do Gear Talks, don't worry. But we're not going to go into a series yet for a while. I know what the next one is. Maybe towards the winter I will start it. But I want to just dish out some random videos I've been wanting to do. So, thank you all for watching and making it through all this. I very much appreciate all of it. I love you all to death. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you all for making it possible. Thank the patrons for making this possible. I will see you guys in the next Gear Talk with whatever I decide to talk about. I'll catch you in the next one. Salute! Later.